kind of a meaningful move that he's expanding towards his opponent and not away. It definitely puts that base more at risk, but it also means that his units are going to be more likely to be closer to Flash. So he's going to try and create more engagement out of the situation as he expands into that area. It does look like both players are just trying to split the map in half, as you see so often in TVTs, just split down more or less down the middle. And then the fight is going to happen maybe if you can see where the mines are on the mini map for white, towards the left middle. Just north of that, there's a big ridge that will take you into the natural expansion, and at the 12 o'clock position, the other base. Eventually, if this goes into a later game, maybe another 7 minutes or so, 6 minutes or so, once they start looking for 1 or 2 more bases, you'll see a huge fight in that area, as both players are going to try and take that 12 o'clock position and really try and get, I guess that would probably be their 5th bases or so when they get to that area, and that could become a spot of a huge fight. I think I just saw an SCV transfer for Flash. Yeah, he is SCV transferring, and I think he's got this timed out right. So he's going to get a good economic advantage there, because he's going to have a gas there at that expansion. That is huge to note. Flash is going to be on 3 gas, whereas Fantasy is only going to be on 2 gas, and Flash got his 2nd gas up faster than Fantasy got his 2nd gas up. So we're going to see a lot more. Or at least we could see a lot more tanks and tech out of Flash than we do out of Fantasy. It does look like I think I saw Fantasy throwing down a starport, both players throwing down starports, and they're both going to get control towers and start going for some dropship play, which is pretty standard. This is turning out to be a pretty standard TVT, that old style that you were talking about, where they just get a lot of tanks, get dropships, and start flying around. I think that's what we're going to see here, and actually I find it pretty exciting. I think it's pretty fun to watch, especially when you see players of this caliber do it. It can be a lot of fun, and just to see high quality strategic play out of these two, it can actually be a whole lot of fun to see these two players go at it.
Here a vulture battle commencing right about here. Mine's doing absolutely nothing, and because vultures don't set off mines, and Fantasy just has overwhelming numbers of vultures compared to Flash's. Flash tried to get a little bit of positioning on top of the ramp and use the mischance to his advantage, but just inferior numbers, and he's going to lose all of his vultures. But the whole dropship micro battle, that was always interesting to me. It was just the 14 minutes of uninteresting build up to that dropship battle that usually irked me. But this game has been a lot more exciting in that respect, and a science facility already going up for Fantasy. Both players getting a science facility. I don't know if their upgrades are at that point yet, but they must be. I haven't been keeping up with upgrades apparently. And Flash with his first dropship out, it looks like he's going to try to do some harassment and is going to pick off Fantasy's SCV while it's building a command center. So that's pretty huge for Flash, delaying Fantasy's 3rd gas once again, and coming into the mineral only and doing a little bit more harassment. I thought I already saw Fantasy had an engineering bay in his main. I don't know why he's building that. Probably just for floating purposes and spotting across tank lines. So Flash, I think, delaying that 3rd gas is gonna take himself a pretty big advantage in this game. Fantasy just now resuming production on that, and Flash is gonna be on 3rd gas for a while before Fantasy can get his. And another thing, Flash is he was lagging behind on the factory production rather. He had very few factories, but now he's built up more factories, and I think they're probably on roughly equal factory counts. But I think Flash might have a couple more machine shops because of his extra gas, and is going to be producing even more tanks. Oh, he's got a tank trapped in, and he has to destroy a missile turret because he trapped a tank in between a supply depot and a missile turret. But anyway, just economically, I think Flash has got a pretty big advantage because gas is so important in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely, and especially because I think Flash at the 12 o'clock position is setting up turrets there, or maybe that was Fantasy, but someone's setting up turrets at the 12 o'clock position, and if either player can really take a foothold there, that'll be a huge advantage. If Fantasy can get up there, he can start tanking that base at the 1 o'clock position, as Flash is sort of doing to the base at the 5 o'clock position from his own main. And that's an interesting point of this map, is that you can tank both into and out of the main platforms from each of the 3 bases. Not necessarily all the way into the middle, but certainly enough that if buildings are on the outlying regions, they definitely do come at risk. So that's definitely important to note if that does come into play. And a couple mines here might come into play. Sieging up here, Flash is kind of a little bit late there, but it's only vultures right now, and actually coming back in with some dropships as well with a couple extra tanks, so he's going to clear this out pretty well. But those mines are actually going to take down a couple of his tanks. But doing a good job there overall, able to clear out that northern area. So right now, Flash has I think a pretty significant advantage. He's got both. If you look at the middle, kind of like the triangle ridge right in the center, he's got both the right side, the top right side, and the top left side, and Fantasy's more or less just on the bottom. So looking at from a ground force perspective, Flash kind of has 2/3 of the map compared to Fantasy only having access to 1/3, so it's kind of a disadvantage for him right now. We'll see where Fantasy goes with his dropships, because if he's able to clear out some of this and maybe find a good spot, he could do some damage. But this is just a huge force for Flash. I don't know where all of Fantasy's army is, but it just looks like Flash has so many more units. Like, an incredible number of more units. I gotta say, I'm so confused right now as to how he has so many more units. And now we're gonna see him tank right into the main. This is exactly what I was talking about. You can definitely tank right into the main if there's outlying buildings. And 3 missile turrets is not gonna be enough. 4 dropships are gonna come in here. 5 dropships are gonna come in here, dropping off a huge force, a ton of tanks, as well as Goliath. The Goliath are probably gonna do a good job of taking out most of these SCVs. Fantasy trying to fend this off just with SCVs. Most of the tanks do go down, but pretty much every SCV has gone down as well. That starport is gonna be lost as well. The tanks are able to siege right into the base, and that is absolutely huge. And now he's going to bring in more tanks, using those dropships to ferry in what tanks were on the side. And now there's going to be another 6 tanks that are going to siege up inside of his base. Fantasy is in a whole world of trouble right now. We could be seeing Fantasy being crippled right here, right now, especially if he starts losing supply depots and he's unable to get a counter drop off here. He really needs to counter drop and save his supply depots. If he loses those forces, he could be in huge trouble. He's going to counter drop these tanks that are in the middle of the map, going to try and take them down, but unsieging by by Flash, able to stop it and not losing too many tanks, and only losing a couple of tanks, doing a great job, killing so many supply depots. Flash is absolutely in a huge lead right now, and I don't know what Fantasy's going to be able to do to come back into this, because he has just been pretty much crippled, in my opinion. He is falling so far behind, and I don't see him having the capabilities right now to even go for an effective counter-strike. I think we may have seen Flash do like almost a pseudo doom drop here and just take an irrecoverable lead right now.
Flash got so many units into Fantasy's base so quickly. It almost reminded me of a recall. It's like where they were just not in the base, and then a second later they were all in the base. And Fantasy GG's. Oh my! Fantasy had no production whatsoever. Not because his factories were dead, but because he was probably 40 psi in the red. There was no way he could produce more units, and he threw pretty much all the units that he had at Flash, and Flash just in his own base, and Flash just was able to defend. So Flash takes that game in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, that wasn't even close. Flash absolutely took Fantasy down, like textbook style, one play after another. As soon as he decided to push out, he just took Fantasy down piecemeal, and I was very, very impressed by Flash. I'm very impressed by that. And KT Rollster gets the win against SKT1. That's absolutely huge here in the early stages of the Pro League season. KT, you have to look at as the dominant team right now because of this win, because of Luxury and Flash both playing so well. So KT, I believe they are going to be pretty hardcore into first place in Pro League, and SKT is going to be pretty solidly into second place. It's I think they probably have a game or two separating them and a game in hand for KT. So that's pretty significant here early on.
I told you at the beginning of the game, SKT should have played Bisu. Thanks for watching, guys.
So yeah, GG. I hope you guys enjoyed this.